Anaconda, map number 1 here, and our last best of 3 of the day. We have a Protoss versus Zerg, and the Samsung Khan player starts to the top right in orange. It is
Samsung Khan jangbi.
Jangbi, really strong player, pretty cool guy, was able to win the last OSL back in Brood War. Now we have his opponent to the bottom right, starting for Team FXO.
FXO, Leenock.
Octopus.
Leenock stretching out his tentacles, excellent creep spread. Not always the most important thing in this particular matchup, but with this placement on the pylon really indicates by jangbi that we are going to have a gateway expand. So he does place it down. And talking about this map just a little bit, the backdoor expansion can only be accessed by Leenock if he kills the rocks, and that's probably the third base that we're going to see from jangbi, but he always has to be a little bit concerned about run-bys. It's really tough to set up walls on this map.
This is one of those maps where we've seen Zerg players just relying on a ton of Zerglings and trying to get the aggression out there because they know that walls are very difficult for a Protoss player to set up. At this point in time, Leenock is starting with his pool first. jangbi, on the other hand, is starting to go into the gateway. And I just want to get the statistics for the two out in this matchup a little bit, because they are really good at playing against each other's races. We have jangbi with 20 maps played in Heart of the Swarm offline against Zerg, and he won 16 of them. He only lost 4. That leaves him with an 80% win ratio. He had a 7-game win streak against Zerg, taking down Jaedong, Zero, Solki, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Haiwa, and Jaedong again, also Kangho, before he lost the best of 1 against Kangho just recently. That was back in July. Leenock, on the other hand, he has played 28 games, so a few more matches than his opponent, and he won 64% of them, 18 and 10. That's his record for Heart of the Swarm against Protoss so far. So both of them really strong players, and I feel this is one of the most exciting matches that we have today in the Challenger League.
Yeah, this is true. I'm really looking forward to this one. As you can see, the Cybernetics core is finishing up on the production tab. Leenock takes a third base, and Leenock actually, he knows it's a gateway expand, and he's still going to go for this build. This is kind of risky, especially on this map, because once those rocks, which don't have a ton of hit points, are gone, this base is totally exposed.
There comes the expansion now for jangbi, immediately scouted by the Overlord. But one of the things that jangbi really doesn't know is there is a third base already, so the scouting information for him is a little bit limited. The one thing that is really interesting is that Leenock is not getting any gas whatsoever. If you're up against a gateway opening, what you usually do is get the gas out just as a bit of a precaution. You want to have that speed in case that there is an aggressive strategy being executed. If there are additional gateways, then you are in a lot of trouble if you don't have speed.
Yeah, this is absolutely true, and it's really important to have speed to also just kind of, if a gateway push is coming, you can delay it so much. There's so many things that speed grants you here. As it is, Leenock is going to have a lot more minerals. He's going to have a lot more drones out early on. jangbi actually a little bit supply blocked here, but his Stargate will finish right with the pylon. And let's see what he's going to make with this. Most likely will be Phoenixes.
Yeah, and Leenock is now taking that gas pretty late at this point. We have one probe hidden still.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see that earlier.
And if he has that probe hidden, that means he can use that for a forward warp later, but Leenock is checking around the area. He doesn't quite see it.
Yeah, he doesn't see the probe, and we have Phoenixes, of course, being started now for jangbi. Let's see how Leenock is going to play this out. Right now, he's really just relying on his economy. He gets the Roach Burn at the 6-minute mark, and that's a pretty good timing when you're up against a gateway expand. So he should be able to get those Roaches out in time if there is aggression. But with jangbi not adding the additional gateways, it looks very much like he just wants to get his Stargate units out there and pressure him a bit early.
Yeah.
There come additional 2 gateways, but still not really a number where you're overly concerned. There might be a bit of aggression, but that's not completely all in the strategy for jangbi.
Yeah, he doesn't have a forge, so he doesn't have +1 or anything like that with this. It's a very different timing. I really like that Leenock gets the early Roach Warren in this case, because he knows that he's taking a risk with the build he's chosen, so he's not playing too greedy. And with only 2 gates going down for jangbi, I feel like he's going to take a third Nexus relatively soon, but he does put this pylon down.
Yeah, we have that pylon, and it's really funny to see the vision of the Zergling just being there at the left side, because Leenock is not going to expect this pylon at all to be there.
Yeah.
He really thinks that he has the perfect scouting to see when there is a probe moving out. He will be very much surprised by this.
And Kaldor, this pylon actually gives him warpins on the low ground that can run over to attack this base. Yeah, he's not going to use it just yet, but he
Leenock-
definitely has the opportunity.
Leenock doesn't see this coming. He's now starting his speed and he doesn't have any units because he doesn't need them. He thinks there's nothing. He really thinks that he has the vision that he needs. But now those units, the first round of Warpins is there. He's going to wait for another one. And Leenock really needs to get some units out. He's finishing his lair tag. And the position for him, disregarding that pylon, is great. But that one thing can actually screw his entire build up.
Yeah, that could definitely mess him up quite a bit. And he's hiding. This is so smart. And Hydro Den is coming out, but it's going to be very late. And he's also got the Mothership Core to come help out with this. Leenock is in trouble. And actually, I think he's not going to be able to keep this hatchery alive.
He shouldn't be able to keep it alive. There are 3 Zerglings on the map now. He's going to start his roaches fairly soon. He might actually end up just sacrificing the space and being like, okay, this is not going to happen.
He saves his drones. That's really important.
He waits for the Hydra Den. He's just building a few roaches just in case, and also as a buffer, but he will go for Hydralisks.
He's going to lose these Overlords too, color, which is going to mean a limited amount of production here. He should be targeting the Overlords instead of the drones right now, I feel.
This is horrible for Leenock. The Zergling to the left side of the map just didn't have the patrol range that he needed to spot this probe and the pylon. And that's why he always assumed that he was completely safe with his build. This is not the case, and now jangbi is starting to punish him for it. More Overlords are going down. Heavy supply block for Leenock. He can't get the units out.
He can just recall if he wants to. He goes for...
He doesn't have to.
Well, I mean, once the rest of the units come out, he could just trade... I don't mean immediately now, but in a moment, he didn't use it earlier. He's killing so much.
He might win the game.
Yeah, in fact, he may never have to recall because there's not enough units out at all. The Overlords are being taken down here. He can pick up the roaches.
He's taking down the roaches. He's taking down Overlords. A few Hydralisks come into play, but Leenock is now dropping down to 62 supply against 78. A third base is being built for jangbi.
I think the game is over here.
Caller. He's taking down the entire Antier. He's killing the Overlords. He's going supply block Leenock soon again. This is just a horrible position for the Octopus.
Yeah, this is just a group of Zealots he warped in earlier. This is not even... He keeps warping in Zealots. Back at home, he has a 3rd Nexus on the way, Twilight Council. He's getting his attack upgrades, Leenock.
If he had the energy for lifts, he would move in and kill the Hydralisks now,
Yes.
but he doesn't have the energy, so he has to wait a little bit longer. But this is already devastating. You can see the Harvesters killed. 15 against 0. We have 74 supply against 66. 3 base soon to be for jangbi against 2 for Leenock. And he's looking for that pylon. He's like, where is that pylon? I don't think he's actually going to fight anymore. He already... from the looks of it, he already is in a position where he's like, well, I'm not... No, he's okay. He finds the pylon.
Yeah, he finds it. I don't think he thought about the... You know, the thing is, I never even realized that that was a high to low ground situation where you could warp in like that. I didn't think that was the case, so maybe Leenock also thought that was the case because this is a map that's very new. It's usually used in only Kespa leagues.
I want to correct myself, by the way. For a second, I really... He could just kill them. I
Yeah,
don't
that was
know
a
why
little
it just doesn't lift. But for a second, I really thought that he wouldn't play the game anymore and just try to find with the units where the pylon was to be like, okay, well, that's where that happened, so it doesn't happen in the future. We see that occasionally, but I didn't see that he was actually still producing units to the right and had such a good saturation going on.
Yeah, so what Keller's talking about specifically is that sometimes a programmer who knows the game is over will wait until he has enough energy for a scan, for example, to stay in the game that long, scan the base, and then after that say GG and leave.
Yeah, just see what's happening there. I was surprised that he didn't leave at least those Hydralisks to the right side to deal with those Phoenixes, but apparently he was just really worried about the pylon, and for good reason. So Leenock isn't out of this just yet, as you can see, but he's in such a bad spot that he has to hope for jangbi to make major mistakes now to come back into the game. And
the Spire here is...
I don't agree with that choice.
Yeah, the Spire is really weird because Corruptors against the Phoenixes is one thing that he might go for, but he doesn't have the economy to really afford to make enough of those, and he's not dealing... Maybe he's trying to... he's expecting Colossi perhaps for that, but Mutas are not going to do a whole lot for him in this game.
If he has like 1,500 gas and has the resources and minerals to pull that off, he might go for a switch and then corner those Phoenixes that are there. But with the Stargate in the game, it should not really happen. And especially since we now have Blink. And with the Blink upgrade alone and the amount of Stalkers that we already see there, just a simple Guardian Shield and a Stalker Focus Fire is going to take down the Mutalisk. So this is not really the game that Leenock wanted to play. This was just not scouting the pylon, and this is what broke his neck. And of course, jangbi executing this perfectly.
I didn't realize these rocks had 10 armor, Keller. Everything I said in the past about how it's easy for a Zerg to counterattack that third base is not true. Those rocks have 10 armor.
Well, it's not really easy, but if you dedicate a few Zerglings right at the beginning, they will chew through those rocks fairly soon.
We've seen it before.
Exactly. We've seen builds like this that were just focusing on speedlings.
It just takes a long time for non-Zerglings to kill it. This attack here from jangbi, he's about to have +2 in Blink.
He wants to end it. He wants to win this game with this attack. Force field so far, not the best, but still good enough to trap a few of the units. And just look at the amount of stocks that we have here. The Guardian Shield is active, and now the Phoenixes are moving in to lift Hydralisks. Yeah. Leenock is 60 supply down.
GG! And jangbi with a solid opening here.